Luella was one of the first shut ins I visited when I arrived in Clarion. She was a woman of great faith, a sweet, charming woman who had had a very rough life, and her visits were always uplifting for me, but at the same time, a bit frustrating, because Luella had many, many questions about heaven. Pastor, tell me what it's going to be like. And no matter how hard I tried to paint a biblical picture of heaven, it was not satisfying to her. And the questions just kept coming, and they got harder and more specific. And I began to understand what some of the issues were for her. And they were real issues. Fast forward a number of years, she has crossed the century line, and she is now dying. She never recovered from surgery. She was in the hospital. We all knew that she was in the last hours. And I remember sitting there with her granddaughter, feeling helpless because she was in torment. I'd never seen someone that age wrestle with death so hard. I left the hospital late that afternoon frustrated. There was nothing I seemed to be able to do. And I remember driving back I 80, thinking about who can convince her of what heaven is like. If only someone could come back and visit her. In desperation, I prayed to my great Aunt Flora of blessed memory. She had died at 101. I figured if anybody could talk to somebody, she might be the one. And so I prayed, Aunt Flora, I need your help. Can you just give her the answers she needs? When I got home, there was a message on my answering machine that Luella had at last peacefully died. Pastor, tell me what heaven's like. It's a question that Jesus gets bombarded with. It's a question that the church made a living on for centuries. How to get into heaven, or more especially, how to keep your butt out of hell. We do really well at asking that question. But it's not a question that gets asked much today. Because most of us, regardless of whether we live on the left or on the right, believe this is hell and heaven is our reprieve. Jesus gets bombarded with that question because his world is very much like our world. How do we get out of here? And is it any better on the other side? And Jesus' answer often is you're asking the wrong questions. It's not about how to get to heaven. Faith is about how you live today, what your relationship with God is. And equally important, what your relationship to those around you is. To love God and love neighbor. Time after time, that's the answer. to all the questions about faith and life that Jesus gets nailed with. I often go back to my great Aunt Flora. She was a woman of great faith, but she had a very simple prayer. She would wake up every morning at 5 o'clock and utter this word: Dear Lord, what adventure are we going to get into today? Maybe that's the right question to be asking these days. How do we live together in faith and in hope with God and with one another?